What's up guys, so welcome to today's tutorial on React query, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you step by step how to use React query in React applications. So first off is, what is React query? So React query is a powerful data fetching caching tool for React applications, which is meant to ease in the work that is currently supposed to be done. Like, you need use effects, you need to handle loading changes, you need to refetch yourselves. So this tool comes with all those. So we are going just to first use the use effect hook to get our data, and then see how we can replace that with use the React query, and then you can see why we would need to use React query in React application. So first off is the installations, and then we are going to be using JSON placeholder get to fetch our users. And also, now here is the repository for the code, which from this point on, from the code given, we just start setting up React query. So but I just want to illustrate how you can do that step by step. So we'll just jump into VS Code and then write yarn create vid at latest. So you don't need to add at latest, but I just want to use at latest. So project name, then I can call it YouTube React Q dash YouTube. I want to use React, so use drop downs to select. TypeScript, yes. CD React Q dash YouTube. Then code, you open with VS Code. These are React applications. So then what I'm going to do, let me show you. So if I do yarn dash v, so this one is yarn version 4. And then so if you go and search yarn plug and play, so this is a new feature of yarn. And then this one replaces node modules with, doesn't use node modules, but in this tutorial I want to use node modules because that's what most people have. And also node the, so I can just install and show you, so if, but that will waste more time. So the yarn plug and play works like you have your own files, but there are no node modules, so everything is linked up and cached. But this one is not quite stable with TypeScript, so I'm just going to use the node module. So to do that, I need to add a special file called .yarnrc.yml to my project to specify to Yarn that I just want to use node modules. So to do that, I just use my terminal. So you don't have to use the terminal, you can simply come here and create it. So you can see how fast it was created. So I'm in this file, I'm just saying I just want to use node link node modules in my files in my project. So then I can do yarn, and then everything will be installed and still have the node modules folder. Okay, so let's wait for it to finish, and then we can go to the next step, which is to install Axios. So we'll be using Axios to fetch our data, because Axios is simple to use. Yeah, so you can add Axios and Bootstrap. So why am I using Bootstrap? I'm using Bootstrap because I just want a simple table, because in this tutorial you're not focusing on the UI, you're focusing on React query. So Bootstrap and Axios are installed. Then the next step is to clean up the CSS files from the folder. Go to the index and to the app and delete everything. Go to the app and simply you can just delete everything here. You can just delete everything and return h1 with hello world. And then you can just clean up everything on top here like this. Save everything. Then yarn dev. Why are we doing yarn dev? Because in our package.json we have a script for dev which launches our application using Vite. So don't worry about maybe you are new to React and don't know what is happening. So if I go to localhost port 5173, I should see my hello world. So the next step is to go to Bootstrap and look for a table. I just want a Bootstrap table. So I can just pick a striped table. I think striped tables are nice. So I can come here, copy everything here, go back to the main.tsx and import Bootstrap here. So you can say import bootstrap /dist /css /bootstrap main.css. So Bootstrap will be installed on in our system, and then we can continue with our configuration. I want to create a single component, so let me show you. I want to create a simple component here called users.tsx, and then so I want to use this component because I want to start the app. So in the app, instead of the hello world, can just return our users. I need a div here, then I can return our users. So and then here so this one is Bootstrap, so I want margin of 4 around everything, and then that's it. So if we go back to the users, then we can paste our table from Bootstrap. So this is our table, then change this one to class name because that's how you do it in React. And then if we go back to the browser, should see a Bootstrap table loaded. Yeah, that's it. So you can see a Bootstrap table has been loaded. I can add a simple text here. I can go to the app, then on top here I can just say h1 welcome to React query tutorial. Yet, so yeah, that's it. So if you go back, you can see welcome to React tutorial, then a simple separator here, then that one should start looking nice. So welcome to React. Now you can see we have these. So the next thing I want to do is to hit this endpoint. So this is the endpoint we want to hit, then grab the users and then show the users in our table, and then we can see how React query simplifies this. So now what I want to do is to go to my, so let me just close this apps.tsx and then to my users. So here I need my users, const users. So this one is a state hook, set users. So this is how you fetch data. So use state, since I'm using TypeScript, I want to have auto completion, all those TypeScript helpers. So I'll just come and copy one user, then create an interface here. No, I can just paste my user here. So then you can remove the things you don't want. So I don't want the address. I don't want the address. I don't want the username. Maybe not. But let me use the username. So because that's what I used in my previous stuff. Website, I don't need the company. So just remove the company and then create an interface based on this. So interface user is equals to ID, which is a number, and then username is a string, then email, which is a string also, and then phone, which is a string also, and then website. We're just shaping our data so that it will be easier for us to use. Then that's it. You can remove this one was just there to help us. So then you can say the users, it's users, and the default is an empty array. So users array, and the default is an empty array. And then you create a useEffect. So inside the useEffect, so you want this one to run every time the component is mounted. And then we want here to call Axios. dot get, then we need the base URL, so we can come here and say const base URL is equals to this one, and then we can give it the URL, and then then get the result, and then set users to the res.data. So you can see the flow. So whenever the component is mounted, and then this empty square bracket says this one should only run when the component is mounted. So we have our state variable which holds the users, and then we have the updater function set users, which is a users array, and then if we call Axios, and then you can see here on the get. So the first parameter is the type of data we want from Axios. So currently the type is any, and we don't want to work with any. So if you go to the result here, you can see the result is any. So inside here we can add a generic type argument, call it, give it, say we want a user array, or it's users array. I don't want users. That one is user. I want user, not users. So now if I hover on the result, I'm seeing it's a user array. And then you can see the data, which is a user array. So should this work? Yes, it should work. So the next thing is we have the ID, number, email, username, email, phone, and website. So the name, then go to the email. Is it phone? Username, email, phone, and then finally have the website. Then it's just a bootstrap table, simple to use. So then you can remove all these table rows, just leave one, and then map our users. So here we can call users.map for each user, and then the index. Then we can return a table row with key, which is equals to user.id. Now you can see the completion for TypeScript, so that's why we needed to use TypeScript. And then here I can say I+1, and then here I need user dot. You can see now the power of TypeScript. So TypeScript knows what kind of data do we have. So you can also call the user dot email. Now you can see the little power of TypeScript. So user dot phone, and then finally user dot website. So you can see how TypeScript is helping us and we don't have any error. So this is how basically we fetch data from the website. So if you go back to the website, what do you expect us to see? You expect us to see the list of users which has been fetched. Now we have a problem. What if the fetch fails? What do we do? Let's put an X here or anything. So what happens if we get an error? So I think I can do this one like this one like this, and this one like that. Then this one should become small, but doesn't look okay. So I think so what if it fails? What happens? We get nothing. What if we want to show the errors in the browser? So what do we do? So we go back and create a separate. So we call this one error. Then we set the error is equals to useState. The error should be a string. And then here, this one should be an empty string. So then we can say here, if error, then you can go back to the bootstrap documentation and look for alerts. Then you can take the dangerous one, so the alert for danger. Then come real quick and paste that here. Call the return. Paste that and change this one to class name. Then we can say okay, so if we get an error, then we do that. Then how do we set the error? So if we get the error, when we call .then, we have another, we can change the .catch. Then we grab the error, and then we set error to the error dot message. But now you can see TypeScript is not telling us, not completing this one, because let's see. Oh, error is of type any. So let's see what we have here. I don't want to add that one here. So we can say the error is of type error. And then if we come here, so the error, this one is the error class of JavaScript. So you can say error dot, and then you can see the properties present in the error class. So this is how we use TypeScript to annotate everything, and it's quite handy to use it. So if we get an error, we set that error, that message. So if we go back to our browser, we get network error. Okay, so if we return back and then move on, say, so what do you expect us to get? Refresh, we get our users. So what if we want to show a loading indicator when the data is being fetched? So same scenario, we come here and create a new state variable, is loading, then set is loading to use state. Initially it will be true. Let's say this one is a boolean, not like that, and then you can say an equal sign here. Great. So initially it will be loading, and then so then here, instead of just writing multiples, we can call the dot finally, and then this one we can set is loading to false. And then if it is loading, if loading, then we return. So if is loading, then go back to the browser and look for loading spinners, then take this one, then grab any spinner you want. So let me grab this one, so just copy and then copy the second one. So this is the CSS and the actual markup. So here we're gonna return the span, and then we go to the app.css or main.css, any, then we paste our loader here, go back here and name this one to class name. So if it's loading, then we do this, then do that. So is loading is previously true, so while the data is fetching or doing anything, then is loading is true, and then the user will see a loading indicator. Great job. So let's go back and refresh. You can see the loading for a split of a second. Now, is this handy to do? So how hard is this to do? You have 3 state variables, you don't have retries. If you want to retry now, I think you can now start chaining the dependencies here. Then you can see all that markup just to render something simple. That's why we need React query. So to install React query, I'm here on the docs, returnstack.com/query. Then you can grab the installation docs here, instructions, then go to your terminal. You can open a new one or just shut this one. Then we can add the React query library. And then I can show you how excuse. So then I can show you how easier it is to use. So you can just run the application again, then go to the main.tsx, then import some classes from React query. So import query client. So this is a class that is defined in React query. And then we have a provider which uses context. This one, query client provider. And then the first thing we do is we create a query client, new. So we call that. And then inside our application, we call the query client provider and wrap it through our application. So grab the app inside, then you see the client is equals to query client. So that's all we needed to do to set up React query. So if you still go back to the website, our website should be running as usual. This one. So you can see our website is running. And then we also have our spinners. Yeah, so the next step is to use React query to fetch data. So now I'll just come here. So this is how you use React query. So to fetch data with React query, they give us a hook called use query. So just call the use query hook, and then so the use query takes in a configuration object. The first thing is the query key. So what is this query key? So the query key is a list of unique identifiers for this query. So when normally the first key, so the first key is the name that would be used as the key to the cache. So let's say users. If I say users, so in the cache we will have something like users and then the values for the users, which is the data. And then next here I can add things like is email verified. No, I can do like this. I can also add an object here. Is email verified true? And then whenever any of these changes, React query will fetch our data again from the backend. But since this is a simple application, we just need the one key. And then we give it the query function. So this is the function that will be used to fetch data to the backend. So React query normally doesn't care how we fetch data. It is only concerned in managing and caching data. So it doesn't care whether you use Axios, whether you use fetch, doesn't care about that. So just provide a function here and then call Axios again. .get, give it the URL, .then res, and then return the data, res.data. And then return. Instead of doing all this, you can just return it direct. Axios.get URL, then res.data. So you just return the data immediately. So I don't want us to so instead of it so return the data and then that's all. So React query cares about the data. So it's either you return the data or throw an error. So we actually don't need all these. We don't need these ugly use effects. Or everything can remain as it is. And then what do we get back from this? So what we get back from this is an object with some few keys and properties. So the first one is called data. So this is the data that was returned. We have another one called is loading. So this one gives us the pending state, whether it's loading or not. We also have an error from this. And then this one tells us the type of error. Then you can see TypeScript is crying. Data is not. So let's hover on the query function. So the query function returns any. Do you want to return any in a TypeScript world? No. So here in the get, we can annotate here, say, what do we expect? We expect a user array, like that. So if I hover on this, you can see we have the user array here. And then, so you can see use query picked on that. You can see we have a user array and then that. So, and then we can simply rename these to users. And then you can just remove all these. And then now the error, we need the error.message because the error is of the class of error. And then that has some few attributes. So we also have one error. So this one says users is possibly undefined because that's true, because the call to the backend might fail. So here we can use optional chaining to remove that TypeScript error. So if we go back, still have the same, we still have our loading. And yes, so this is how to fetch data using React query. So what do we get from this? So what we get from this is caching by default, loading states, simpler code, and then refetch and automatic reply. So if I inspect these and go to the network tab, if I go to the network tab here, and then we can, so you can see there's a call to fetch the users. Now if I go back and mess up with this URL, let's add something else here. Now you can see 1, 2. So let me remove these and then refresh this. So you can see our loading indicator. You can see errors here on the, so this is the first request, and then after that we have 3 more because React query retries 3 more times. So let me show you another thing that it does, but we'll come to that later. But I just wanted to give you a glimpse of what is happening. Still getting errors, so let me see what I have. JSON placeholder.typecode.com/users. That should be working. So let me show you something. You can see now we don't have a request. Now if I go to Bootstrap and come back, we have a new request to the backend. Isn't that cool? So if I delete again, go back and come back, we fetch again our data. So this one is called refetch on window focus. So we'll talk about that later on how to customize the configurations for React query. Maybe you don't want it to refetch, maybe you want it to refetch more often, you don't want it to retry, and then we'll talk about that. So now, what issue can you spot in this code? So pause for a second and try to think, what issues do we have in this code? So this code looks nice, but we have an issue here. Can you spot the issue? Our querying logic has leaked into our components. So our components should be purely used for markup, but not querying. So how do we do? So we can come here into the source file and create a hooks file, and then here you can create a hook called use users.tsx. Did I use tsx? Yes. So another issue you can face here, what if we need we needed the users in another component? So that would mean we simply start to duplicate code. We can just copy these and do all that, but now we can create a reusable hook. So it should not be use users, should be use user. So this is just a convention that is used in React. So you can hold there and here and then write use user. So what do we want to do here? We want to query from here. So what do we need? So we don't need to return a markup. We're not doing markup here. So what we need is the querying logic. So we can just grab this, can paste that in. Don't worry about the errors. The interface doesn't need to be here. Grab the interface, add it here. What else don't we need here? The URL. Let me move the URL for now, but we have another way whereby we can supply the endpoints to a custom reusable hook. But let's not deviate from our main purpose of creating a reusable hook. So we have the URL. We can come here and create the use query called Axios. And then instead of doing all these, we can simply return the use query. So return that. So I hope you got that. Also, let me show you something cool. So we can create the function outside. So function get users, and then we can grab this and add it inside here. And then here, instead of, then we pass a reference to the function, just like that. So that simply works. So maybe you can move these get users to another file, reuse as much as you want, but now we don't want to do that. Now here we can come and grab const is data of type users is loading, and then error is equals to use user, just like that. And then just like that, we have created a reusable hook, and then all our querying logic is obfuscated from our component, and then our component now deals with the markup. So you can see how easy it is to create a reusable hook. And then now you can go ahead and create more usable hooks, whereby in this hook you can now pass in the endpoint. So you have the base URL, pass in the endpoint. But since the tutorial is getting too long, I will stop at that. So if you go to the website, everything should be working, loadings, everything. So this was part 1 of React query. Part 2 should be next up in tomorrow maybe. So if you are watching this tutorial on a later date, this one will be a playlist. So tomorrow we talk about pagination with React query. We talk about mutating data, so that means posting data. Also creating infinite queries. Queries are those that you might scroll and then everything pops up. Everything pops. Yeah, so that's it for today. And if you really watched until this point, you can subscribe to this channel to support it. Yeah, so that's it. And also we have this GitHub repo whereby you can get everything until to the point where you are starting to implement React queries. So you can go ahead and fork this repo, whatever you want to do. So yeah, that's it, and see you later.